Just picked up this 2021 Odes Dominator 1000. 1000 cc, power steering, EFI. Thing's pretty nice. And this one's got a very interesting story. So I actually bought this from the dealership. They bought it from an auction as a repossession. So this was repossessed. It only has like 500 miles on it, basically brand new. And they said the problem it's having is that it won't crank fast. We had the same problem on the Massimo unit we just worked on. So I'm hoping it's going to be a similar issue. So the dealership said they went through the whole electrical system, tried to diagnose it, and could not figure it out. So they actually went directly from the battery right down to a starter, thinking it was maybe the wiring system, and it still did not crank fast. They hooked up a jumper to it, and it still cranks slow. So they gave up on it pretty fast. They didn't dig too much more into it, and they posted it for $4,200 on Facebook, and I offered $3,000. They said come grab it. So they must have been pretty desperate to get rid of this one. And then the dealership told me they paid $2,850 for it at the auction. So they're not making any money on it at all. They were just trying to break even. Back in 2021, these units sold for $18,000. That is insane. Can you imagine? It breaks down after only 500 miles after paying $18,000 for it. That's just crazy. No wonder it was repossessed. I'm guessing the owner had this thing break down and he probably had like a $16,000 payment on it. And he's like, I'm not paying that. So that's kind of my theory. But it's super nice. I mean, really, really clean. Decked out with a ton of features. It's got the upgraded truck tires on it. Yeah, it's pretty nice. We'll go through all the features here in a second. But yeah, I'm hoping today we can get this thing up, running, and driving. And it's going to be a simple issue. I'm hoping. But the guy at the dealership's a pretty good mechanic. So I'm guessing he went through it pretty good and just can figure it out. So it'll be a mystery for sure. But definitely worth it if we can get it fixed up and running today. So this thing has a lot of features for 2021. It's got the winch on the rear right here mounted and on the front. So 2 winches on it. It's got power steering, EFI like I said before. It's got the hard doors. Pretty nice. This one actually has heated seats. That's the first unit I've ever owned with heated seats. You can see the control for them right here. High and low. These get plugged in down below. And I guess they heat up pretty good. Same with the driver's seat. Comes with a big display. I'm guessing it's got front and rear cameras. All that good stuff. GPS. Looks like the gas tank is on the right side here. Has the mirrors, full windshield. Little cubbies on the dump bed here. In there. Little storage. Obviously rear lights, blinkers, everything like that. Another cubby here. It's got the electric bed for lift and lower. So this is actually electric, not manual. I mean, everything looks brand new. Pretty much zero rust on this thing. And like I said, it's only got like 500 miles, so I'd expect it to not have much use. But lights for the cargo box here. I mean, it's pretty nice. Everything looks really clean. Pretty easily accessible too when I was checking it out. I'm not a huge fan of the blue color, but maybe it will grow on me. We'll see. But going into the unit, let's check it out. So you can see the seatbelts are off right now because the guy had this thing apart. But got the key. You can hear the fuel pump come on. There's the screen. Oh, it is a Massimo screen. That's weird. Are Massimo and Odes the same company? Let me know in the comments. Got a little cubby here. I believe the winch controls are in there. Oh no, what's that? Uh-oh, that's a bad sign. That's a water pump impeller. Kit. I'm wondering if the water pump is on this unit. Oh boy. Those are always fun to replace. I really hope that's not the case. But here's the screen. You've got your GPS, volume up and down, cameras. Let's check that out here. Oh yeah, look at rear and forward cameras. You've got lights, horn, diff lock, 4-wheel drive, the start button, blinkers. Cool. Then you've got hazards, tilt steering here, brake pedal, and your throttle down there. And then you've got your heated seats here. We'll click that onto high. Nothing comes up on the screen here. I don't know if that's even working. But I'll show you guys what it's doing. So we crank this over. Oh, I think you push the start button. You can hear it's really struggling. So it's turning over really slow. Not good. So that's the problem we're dealing with. So that's the first look of it. Let's get this thing off the trailer and start digging into it. We'll see what we find. I'm really hoping we can get this thing fired up today. Well, that went smoother than expected. Almost got caught between the door and the garage siding there. That was a close one. This thing is massive, by the way. It is huge. It's a tank. Sits up really high too. Alright, we got the beast in the garage. Let's start looking at it. The first thing we're going to do is take off this hood. It looks like there's hinges here and here, so this should just fold right up. So yeah, these guys come off right here. There we go. I like that feature a lot. The whole thing just folds right up. For easy access to this thing. You've got the huge radiator in the front. Let's see if there's coolant in here. I think the fill is going to be right here. It looks like it's full. Got your horn. There's the VIN. You can see 0521 right down there. Let's see. So here is the battery. We'll get a voltage test on here. This one was the one that was going to the solenoid before, right here. And he said this was melted a little bit right here. Huh. Not too bad. Fuses, I believe, are in here. Yep. We'll check the fuses too. Make sure those are all good. The rest of the wiring looks to be in good shape. Doesn't look like anything overheated too bad. But here's the wire that went all directly to the starter. So basically just bypass this one that goes down to the starter, because he thought maybe there was something wrong with this wire, but he said that didn't make a difference. And this wire's a little melted too, coming from the battery to the solenoid. You can see. Let's see if that's making a good connection there. Yeah, it feels like it. So we can get the seats out as well, get better access to inside the cab. But I wanted to test out the heated seats, see if those actually work. So turn this thing on. And we're just gonna put this to high. See how long that takes. Oh, there's even footlights down here. That's pretty cool. Look at that. Down to here. Got the light bar at the top. That's cool. Hazards. Those are all working. And supposedly this works too, so let's see if we can lower it. Let's see how high this thing goes. You can see the motor in there working. Oh, it doesn't go very high. You've got your light here as well. That's working. Well, after like 5 minutes, it feels like the seats are heating up. This one's definitely warmer than that one, but it's not like real warm to the touch yet, so it might take a while. On the bottom that plug into here. That's how those heated seats work. Lots of storage underneath the seat here. Alright, engine's pretty much out in the open from here. Isn't too bad. Looks like you've got the air box here. I'll quick open that up. See what's going on in there. I mean, that looks brand new. Yeah, that looks brand new. Let's see how many miles are on this thing. Fuel pump is definitely working. Hear that go on and off. The starter looks to be, of course, in the hardest spot to get to. The starter is right down here. See where that red wire goes to? That is a tough spot to get to. That's for sure. Here's the oil. May as well check that. Looks pretty good. See if there's any flakes in there. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, it looks pretty good. And that is the engine oil. There we go. 565 miles. It should not be having problems. So right now you turn this thing on. Let's crank it a couple times. It's really slow. All right, let's see what we get for a voltage reading. We're gonna go right to the battery terminal. See what we get. 12.48, that's pretty good. We're gonna go directly to the solenoid. See what we get. 12.49. And then we're going to go directly to the solenoid. And we're going to hit the start button. We should see 12.48 there. Looks like we're only getting, is that 8 volts? Looks like we're only getting 8 or 9. So we're gonna go and check all the fuses here. All right, let's take a look at the fuses. So we've got 2 20 amp fuses, and that looks good, that looks good. Those are for the heated seats, overhead lights. And then the 2 15 amp fuses, the blue ones, are for the electric roof. And it looks like drive control, rear drive control. The 40 amp fuse is for the steering assist. That one looks good. The 30 amp fuses are for the fan brake, the headlight, position lamp, turn signal. And then the 20 amp is for the switch lock. And you can see this is the diagram here. And all the fuses look great. Let's see, we've got EFI system, fan, oil pump, back it up, appendices, lights. Those are all fine. Backup power. So nothing to do with the electric start here. So what we're gonna do is just cross the terminals here on the solenoid. Maybe there's something up with that to where it's not sending the correct voltage over to this peg and down to the starter. See what we get here. Yeah. So for some reason, it just turns really slow. Let's see what the ground is like on the frame. So we can actually hook our positive up to our positive terminal here. Let's go into positive. Let's see. 12.26 going to ground there. We could put another ground to the engine. I'm gonna go over to here. See if this will reach. Go directly to the engine here. We've got 12.28 ground to the engine as well. I don't think the ground is the issue either. Let's hook up a jumper pack to it. Just see what happens here. All right, turn this thing over. See what happens here. Definitely turned over faster. was still kind of slow though, wasn't it? You could hear it like the compression was too much for it. So I'm wondering if there's something wrong with the decompression mechanism, if there is one on this machine. All right, here is the coil plug for the first cylinder, the rear one. Let's try to get that plug out. Pretty black. We're gonna put that right back in because we'll check for spark. And the second one's over here. They don't make those spark plugs easy to get to. Alright, there's the second plug. Looks pretty good. Not too bad. Plug that in. Now we're gonna see if this thing turns over easy. Turn this machine on. See if it cranks easy. Oh yeah. Cranks smooth there. I believe I saw a spark. Let's see. Let's see if we have spark. Alright, great spark on that one. Yep. Great spark there too. So we're getting good spark. Let's do a compression test. Turns over just fine without the plugs in. Alright, compression tester going in. We'll do the rear one first. It'll be interesting to see if it turns over easily with just one plug in the cylinder. Now, typically, with a decompression mechanism, you're not going to see over 100 psi on the gauge here. You're going to see like 60. But if the decompression mechanism isn't working, you'll see over 100, and that could be why it's really hard to turn over. So let's see what we get. We're going to do throttle open. See if it turns over okay. We're almost at 100 already. Right there. It's not spinning over very fast. We're at like 90 psi, and that was because it's not spinning fast at all. So I think we have too much compression. Pretty sure. But that was throttle open. Now we're gonna go to the other cylinder, see what we get. You could hear it crank really slow with just one plug in the cylinder. That's not a great sign. Cylinder here. On. Throttle open. So it looks like we'd probably get about 90 if I kept on cranking it. It's about the same. We might put a jumper to it and see what we get. All right, we got our jumper hooked up. Let's see what we get for a reading here. All right. Yeah, I jumped up to almost 150. So that's a ton of compression. So obviously a decompression mechanism isn't working. Because there's no way that little starter can turn over 2 cylinders with over 150 psi. There's no way. Without a decompression mechanism? So it's gotta be something with that decompression mechanism. This has to be. We have tons of compression. Because it spins over just fine with the plugs removed. So, I think what we're gonna do is take off the valve cover and just see if there is a decompression mechanism on the cam. Alright. So it doesn't look like there's a decompression mechanism on the cam. Alright, so on the cam it doesn't look like there's a decompression mechanism. I'm not seeing one anywhere, actually. We can check the timing. These 2 lines have to be parallel with this surface here when this thing is at top dead center. So we can get this crank position sensor out along with the cap down there to turn over this flywheel. And then we can get this thing at top dead center and check timing and then check the valve clearances. Yeah, maybe there's one on this one. I don't know. We'll have to take that cover off as well. It looks like this whole air box and everything has to come off to get to that cover. All right, let's get this crank position sensor out. And we can probably just turn over the engine by using the starter. Possibly. Oh man, that hurt. I don't want to break it. There we go. We'll just turn it over a little bit. Right there's. A little too far past it. Gotta get the cap off. Turn this engine over a little easier. Oh, that's pretty easy. Alright, that's what that cap looks like. Now we're going to turn over the engine until these lines are perfectly parallel to the surface here. Alright, right there. Lines right here and right there are perfectly parallel to the surface. So that is perfect there. And then down in here, you can actually see a number 1. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's a little blurry. Number 1 right there. So this is number 1 cylinder, and our timing looks perfect. So let's see what our valves are at. So feels like our intake are really tight. The intake are going to be 4 thousandths and the exhaust is going to be 6 thousandths. So let's just see if the feeler gauge fits in there. It might just be a tad tight here. We did have compression though on both cylinders, so it can't be too tight. I mean, that's pretty tight. That one's not going in at 3 thousandths. That one's not going in either. Let's check the exhaust valves. Okay, that one fits. Just. Exhaust valves are pretty tight too. One of them fits, one does not. Let's just adjust those quick and see what happens. Crack those free. Oh man. All right. That feels pretty good. Let's see if it still goes in and out. Yep. Alright, and then our second one. Our second one right here. Let's get that one set. Oh, and now we've got movement. That one's pretty good right there. Tighten that up. Alright, let's see what we get. That's what I like to see now. That's what you should hear. So we hear that in the exhaust and the intake. Let's see if that helped at all. You never know. I just want to see if this thing turns over fast now. Nope. Definitely not going any faster. We'll try the jumper again. Here we go. Nope. Definitely not. Timing and valve clearances are perfect on the number 1 cylinder. Let's start working on the number 2. It's really weird to me that there's not a decompression mechanism in here anywhere, unless I'm missing it. Anyone in the comments, let me know. But I don't think there's one in the cam either. I don't see anything that would indicate a decompression mechanism. So I'm just really confused about that. One down in here. Airbox is off. All right, now this bracket has to come off. Those are loose. This is interesting. This might be really bad. See, there's some flakes of black particle. I can't tell if it's metal or if it's plastic. It almost feels like plastic. A bunch on the top of the head here too. What is all that? Oh, there's a bunch in here. Look at all this. What the heck is going on? A bunch of plastic. Ah, it looks like the guide is all chewed up. Almost like it's melted. Oh, what the heck? Look at the cam chain. It's like gunked full of that guide. If you look in there, look at the chain. It's all full. Let's see what's down here. Oh yeah, look at that. Little pieces melted on that guide there. It doesn't look that bad. There are a lot of pieces in there though. A lot of pieces in that cam chain. I wonder if that's like binding stuff up. I mean, the cam chain's just packed full of that. Well, it looks like we found one problem. We can turn over this engine and get this thing to top dead center on cylinder number 2 now. I don't see a decompression mechanism on this cam either. Alright, we're pretty close there. Alright, so the line right there and down there are parallel to this surface, so that looks good. Let's see what the valves are at. Intake valves feel pretty good. Exhaust valves feel pretty good. Yeah, those are all opening. That's not a problem there. You can see the number 2 right there. So we are in fact timed correctly. Let me quick check and see if the piston's at top dead center. It's at the top of the cylinder, you can see it down there. Probably hard for you guys to see. Alright, so the timing looks good on cylinder number 2. The only thing we see that might be wrong is there's a bunch of plastic pieces in this cam chain. I wonder if that's binding that up somehow. So we're going to run this a little bit, turn it over and just see if that gets oiled up. This one gets really oiled when you turn it over. This cam is like completely full of oil. So I wonder if the oil pump is not working on this side. I don't feel as much oil over here. I'm not seeing any oil in this cam at all. What the heck? On the other cam, there's a ton. Yeah, it's completely dry. And then over on this cam, there's a ton of oil. Let's just oil this up a little bit and see if it turns over a little faster. I wonder if that's binding up somehow. it's not the timing, it's not the valves. I think the next logical thing to do is to check the starter out. See if that's working properly. Maybe there's a magnet in there that broke apart and it's not getting enough power to it. So in order to get the starter out, which is underneath here, you need to take the clutch off. In order to take the clutch off, you gotta get the cover off and all this stuff out of the way. So this bracket has to come out. I think this floor pan has to come out. It's gonna be a lot of work. And this whole piece can come out. Maybe not. Oh, here we go. We might put this back here. And now we have access to the clutch cover here. This can all come up here. We'll clamp here. Felt pretty loose in there. I feel like this was off before. Those are really loose in there. I don't know why they're so loose. That one wasn't. Drop it. This can come off now, hopefully. These bolts out of here. Alright, cover looks pretty good. Here's the inside of the cover. Not worn out at all. Secondary spins just fine. Let's see what it does when we turn over this engine. Let's see if there's any play in here. Doesn't feel like it. Let's see how easy this clutch is to turn over by hand. It feels pretty easy. Guessing this probably won't come off. Alright, well that came right out. It's a good sign. Hopefully I have a puller for it. I'll find out here right now. I'm thinking this one should work. Nope. This one. I don't think we have a puller for it. This one. Oh, that's gonna be long enough or not. Oh, it's screwing in. I think the clutch just came off. What the heck? Well, that's weird. Clutch just popped off of there. So this has definitely been off before. No doubt about that. That was the correct puller. Really odd. Alright, so we can get that one off. The belt off. That one came off a little too easy too. Huh. pull off of here. That pulled off really easily. Secondary clutch looks really good. Alright, I think this whole thing can come out. Pretty sure. Alright. That's off of there. There's the starter right there. How does that come out? I think there's a bolt down here from the other side, and this pulls off this way like that. Alright, we got that bolt off right there. I think we can now knock this through. I think finally we got her out. Okay. Spins just fine. Not binding up at all. Feels good. Alright, we're checking out the starter now. You can feel, it feels really good, nice and smooth, not binding in either direction here. So we're going to hook up ground to here, positive to here. Alright. Looks like it's going pretty good. They're actually 7mm. Interesting. Looks really good so far. This cover can push off of here. Those look really nice. Not all cracked. They look perfect. Alright, check this out. Looking good. So a lot of times these brushes can go bad and get worn down, and they won't be hitting or making contact because they're so worn down, but these look really good. You can see they're both the same length. They both push in and they're both making contact. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the starter at all. I mean, everything looks perfect. Magnets are perfect, so yeah, it's definitely not the starter causing issues. Everything was smooth, not binding up. So I guess we can rule out the starter. Well, so far we ruled out the starter, the valves, the timing, the clutch, and the electrical. I actually put a new ground right to the engine here. That goes up to the ground, to the negative terminal on the battery. And grounding right to the engine, and still nothing. Still turns over very, very slow. So I think that leaves us with only one other thing it could be, which is the worst case scenario, which would be a bearing. So that means the whole engine probably has to come apart. But before we do that, we want to check one more thing, which is the oil. If there's metal chunks or metal metallic flakes in the oil, it's going to be that bearing. So let's check the oil and we'll go from there. Alright, well, here we go. Moment of truth here. Let's see what the heck comes out of here. So far, it's looking pretty clear. Alright, oil is looking pretty good. Not seen any chunks in it yet. We'll have to put the magnet through and see. But it's pretty clear. Nothing. Nothing at all. Well, that's a good sign. But like, what else could it be? Alright, we're gonna take this cover off right here. I believe the oil pump and the water pump gears are underneath here. So, if those are all crunched up, maybe it's binding up in here and not turning over fast enough. Because for some reason it came with a water pump kit, which is kind of mysterious. So. Lots of bolts. Okay. I think that's all of them. Double check here. That looks like water. That's water in there. I shouldn't have water in there. I don't think, at least. Why is there water in here? Looks like coolant was in here. Holy. Well, I think we found the issue. Holy cow. Look at that gear. Oh, completely shredded. No way. No wonder it wasn't getting any oil. That gear leads to the oil pump. That's it. So here's the water pump right here. So that wasn't spinning at all. And that means that the oil pump wasn't spinning because this gear was bad. So I wonder if this thing was overheating. Oil pump still feels good. But check out the guide. Oh, it's just completely melted. Look at that. It's just really, really melted on there. That is not good. Wow. So this thing was not getting lubricated or cooled down at all. It is crazy. So the black stuff we were seeing was the guide. So that gear didn't fail. This gear still looks good. It's just the one gear that went on it. That is crazy. I think I had the same issue on the other one I bought. Look at it, just ground right down. So what happened? Why would that grind down like that? Did the impeller on the water pump get stuck at one point? Or did something get lodged into the oil pump? Because this completely melted right here. So what got hot? Did it get hot because it failed? Or did this fail because it got hot? Huh. Let's just try to turn this thing over, see what it does. I'm gonna put the plug back in and see if it spins faster. Maybe that gear was binding up. Alright, let's see if it spins fast now without the cover on. Let's get the jumper pack on. Oh, that's way faster. I think it was just that gear. That sounds pretty good, actually. It's way faster. So that gear was binding up stuff. Alright, we still have hope here. So, what we might do, which is a little bit risky, but what we might do is put this cover back together without this gear in, put oil back in it, and then just for fun, we'll see if this thing actually fires up. I think that's what we're going to do, because I want to hear if this thing knocks, because I don't know if it overheated enough to wreck the bearings, the rod bearings. This is interesting. Okay, so the oil pump's not going to work and the water pump's not going to work until we have this gear. Let's see if this gear was included in the water pump gear kit. I don't think it was. So, no. So we've got this gear here, which is that one. And then we've got the water pump gears. And I think the coolant was coming from in here. I think coolant runs through the engine. The cylinder right through here, this port. Well, we've got one plug in it. Let's see what happens. It's not cranking fast. We're just gonna take this cam gear off, this cam sprocket off, and take off that cam chain. I think that's just making everything really tight. Alright. See if we can get that to come off here. Cam chain. It's pretty stuck in there. This little stopper plate out right here. It's pretty melted in there. It's coming now. There. So you can see that was pretty melted in some spots. Yeah, that's really tight there. I don't think that liked that melted guide. cam chain's all full of that guide material. It's pretty stiff. Let's see if it turns over now. Alright, let's put a plug in it, see if that works. Alright, we've got the one cam chain off. Let's see if that was causing us to bind. We've got the spark plug in the other cylinder. We're going to try to fire this thing up. Well, I thought for sure that the gear here was binding that up and causing this engine not to rotate. For some reason, we got it to rotate fine one time, and then the next, it won't. So it's almost got to be the bearings in there that are seized up, or seizing up as you rotate the engine, and you're really grabbing that crank. It's just weird because when you have the spark plugs out, it rotates fine, but then when you put the spark plugs back in, you gain that compression, and then it has issues. I've tried jumping it with my best jumper that always works, and it does the same thing. So I'm kind of stumped on this one. I think the next logical thing we do is tear down the top end. We've got to tear down this one anyway to replace the cam chain guide there. So we can start with that, and then we can feel for play in the rod bearing before we tear down both. So we'll kind of start there. We'll charge up both batteries and try this again in the morning. But for now, I think we're gonna call it a day. I've been working on this thing for like 12 hours straight, and we could not figure it out. This one has stumped me. Thought for sure it was gonna be those gears in there causing the issue, which was one issue, but that wasn't the main one. Still doesn't crank fast. Yeah, leave your comments down below. What do you guys think it is? What do you think is causing the slow cranking? I'm interested to see what you guys think. So I'm gonna sleep on this one, think about it a little bit more, look at some forums, hopefully get some ideas, and come back with a second video on this one. So hopefully you guys enjoyed picking up this 2021 Odes 1000. I was hoping it was gonna be an easy fix and we could get this thing up, running and driving today, but we failed at that. We got close, but not quite. So hopefully next video will be the video we find out what is causing this slow cranking. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Stay tuned for next video on this one. And until next time, we are out.